Hello, this is Mr. Stansbury. I'm going to take you through some of the problems from the 11A assignment. Okay, so first thing we're going to start with is one. So a new drug called Corpacil has been developed for the treatment of high blood pressure in humans. A derivative of cobra venom, it's able to reduce blood pressure to an acceptable level. Before its release, a research team treated 7 high blood pressure patients with the drug, and in 5 cases, it reduced their blood pressure to an acceptable level. Do you think this sample can be used to draw reliable conclusions about the drug's effectiveness for all patients? Explain your answer. Reliable conclusions? Probably not, because the problem is that there's only 7 people that they tested. So really what you'd want to say really is that the sample size is too small. So sample size is too small. So we would say no, it's probably not reliable. Okay? And that's really all they're asking. Is it reliable conclusion? No, it's just way too small of a sample space. You need to have a lot more tests done before you can say, hey, this is going to be great. All right? Okay, number 5, the government has released a new proposal to move funding from education to health. A journalist wants to understand the public's feelings about this proposal. She asks 100 people the question, do you support the government's proposed cuts in education? Explain why this survey may produce a measurement error. So the reason why this probably could produce an error is because the question is somewhat leading. So do you support the government's proposed cuts to education? That's kind of a big thing there, is cuts to education. People don't ever want to cut to education, thankfully, but it's just kind of the wording in there. It's not super skewed, but it's going to slant some of the opinions, because again, like really kind of the key word there is cuts. Okay, how could the question be worded so the public's feelings about the proposal would be more accurately measured? Maybe something more in the avenue of like, what are your let's see, do you support the government's proposed, instead of maybe using the word cuts, maybe we could say the moving funding from education to health. Okay, so maybe something like that might be a little bit better. Okay, so something kind of like that. Do you support the government's idea of moving funding from education to health? So it's not quite as leading. They would call that. It's kind of a leading question there. Okay. Last one that we're going to go over is number 8. A national sporting organization has over 300,000 members. Every member is invited to complete an online survey regarding the management structure of the organization. Only 16% of the members responded. Do you think the non-responsive error in this situation is likely to produce a biased sample? Explain your answer. When they're asking, let's see if they are regarding the management structure of the organization, 16% of the people, sorry. Usually the people that are going to respond, especially if you got a smaller number there, those are the people that aren't happy with it and they want change. The people that are happy with it are usually going to be like, hey, it's fine, let's just leave it alone. So do you think the non-response error in this situation is likely produced a biased sample? Yes, somewhat. Okay, because again of the strong negative opinions. Okay, does a high non-response error necessarily invalidate findings from the survey? Discuss your answer. No, even though like some of the bias might be the feedback might be bias, it might help bring some certain issues to light. So invalidate the findings from the survey. Also, 16% of 300,000 is still a lot of people, so that could also be of use as well. All right. Okay, so just kind of wrote our answers down there. Again, the second one, not necessarily. Can still have useful feedback. Actually went through and did the math there. 300,000 times 0.16 is still 48,000 people. That's a lot of people. Okay. All right, if you have any further questions on the 11A assignment, please feel free to ask. Thanks.